Ozempic brings out so many conversations. Today's magnesium moment is about the hormone, the GLP-1s. It's not about determining whether or not you should be on a GLP-1, the medication. I've stayed away from this conversation because it's so triggering and there is such heated opinions. I do love that the GLP-1 medications have put light and people are becoming more educated about what GLP-1 can do for your body. Naturally, you can increase your GLP-1 hormone, or if you're taking the medication. This is not a judgment place whether or not you should be taking that medication. I've seen it do amazing things for people, and I've seen it have amazing side effects. Only you can decide what is best for you. I do want to focus on the benefits of GLP-1 and how you can increase them naturally, whether you're on the medication or not on the medication. So, what does a GLP-1 do? It's a hormone, and it helps to activate the receptors in your pancreas and release insulin. And if you constantly have food noise, if you have hormone issues, if you struggle losing weight, calories in versus calories out hasn't done it for you, your GLP-1 hormone level could be off. And there are numerous pathways to get that rebalance. So let's talk about those, what you can do. Chromium. Chromium helps you develop your own natural GLP-1. Broccoli is loaded with chromium. By the end of our masterclass today, talking about magnesium and the role it plays for GLP-1 medications, or if you're building your GLP-1 naturally, you are going to fall in love with broccoli. And I hope you're eating it if it's a good fit for you. Remember, I'm not a doctor, not diagnosing, not prescribing. Broccoli is amazing in the benefits that it has for our body in soluble fiber, which naturally brings up your own body's GLP-1 so that you're activating and going into that, getting that insulin, and the insulin's doing what it needs to do. Because when you have that hormone, you don't think about food all the time, and that food noise goes down. And broccoli is loaded with two of the things, the chromium and the soluble fiber, that help you tap into that. Now, does it surprise you that magnesium is needed to help activate the antagonist that GLP-1 is, to activate insulin? If you are on medication and taking the GLP-1, or you're building your own naturally because you're seeing the benefits of all these people who were using that, magnesium helps you access it, either pathway that you're on, creating a magnesium-rich environment, soaking in magnesium, getting the interstitial spaces in your body loaded with magnesium, whether you're taking the shot or you're building it naturally, helps it to be more effective. Now, the other thing I really want to focus on today, as we're talking about the benefits of GLP-1, and again, anytime you say that, GLP-1, whether you're getting it through a shot or whether you're building it in your own body naturally, when it's functioning, your body works better. And he's getting wiggly. When it's functioning, the benefits are incredible to brain, for Alzheimer's, for dementia, for energy, for clarity in your thinking. It's incredible, the benefits. And watching all of the research that's been poured into GLP-1 peptide. It's actually a peptide. Watching and just diving into all the different research, berberine also helps your body activate and tap into utilizing GLP-1. And again, whether you're on the pathway of a shot or whether you're on the pathway of building it naturally, maybe you're on the shot and you want to make sure that it's as effective as possible so that you're using the least amount, berberine is a good fit. Olive oil. I want to talk about olive oil. Unsaturated fatty acids that are high in polyphenols are one of the foundational pieces of building your own GLP-1 and being able to utilize it. Now let's talk olive oil and why I'm in love with this olive oil. My husband found this olive oil after walking fields and fields of crops. The reason that this olive oil is so high in polyphenols, which activate your own natural GLP-1. And when, let's say you're taking the shot, by activating your own natural ability, you're getting more benefit from the shot. Or maybe you don't want to do the shot, you want to build your own GLP-1. My dog is like, I'm not here. Let me get my attention back. He's pawing at me to sit a certain way, and it makes it hard to be. I had too many trains of thoughts going on. Okay, so when you're adding olive oil with high polyphenols, polyphenols are the building blocks of creating GLP-1, activating it and having it there for your body to utilize. That's why so many people, when they start adding about 2 tablespoons of olive oil a day, feel so much better. That's why the Mediterranean diet is one of the healthiest ways of eating, because the foundation is olive oil. Not all olive oil is the same. You can get olive oil that has under 150 milligrams of polyphenols, which is a very poor, low quality olive oil. Or you can get up to 250, which is considered really good. Getting up into the 300s is incredible. This hit almost 400 in polyphenol count because of the way it's grown and processed. And one of the things about this olive oil, oh my goodness, it's a beautiful rainstorm. One of the things about this olive oil is typically when there's an orchard, the olives are sent to a different site and then the oil comes back. And so the oil that comes back is not from the olives that were on that farm. It's from anybody who sent olives in, and they're all mixed together. So you've got all these different farming practices, and you lose control of knowing what quality of olive oil you're getting, because sometimes there's 20, 30 different places that it's all getting pressed at once. This is pressed on site. And so that farm that orchard that my husband walked with permaculture principles, which make organic look unviable. Because when you get permaculture principles and you're creating more nutrients, you're increasing the ability for the plant to tap into different nutrients and shuttle those nutrients in the soil. That's what increases polyphenol count. And the types of trees. These are from old mission trees, which are the best trees to get olive oil from, and it's not sent off site. I can't tell you the difference between an olive oil that's grown properly, pressed properly, cold pressed on site, and that's where it's at. Now, when you go to this specific orchard that we get it from, you can buy a little 2-ounce bottle for twice the price of what we have this priced at. My goal was to get that high quality olive oil to families, because when you're getting olive oil, you're building your own body's natural ability to tap into the hormone that keeps everything functioning for increased longevity throughout your life. And it's so simple to get it in. Put it on salads. I love to mix it with a good balsamic, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of fresh lemon, and pour that over my salad. Use it as a dipping oil. When you heat it, you lose that ability to tap into the polyphenols. We've got some, you lose that ability to tap into the polyphenols, but building your polyphenols in your body helps you create GLP-1 peptides. And when you're soaking in magnesium, you're accessing those. And so by simple processes, getting some olive oil, soaking in magnesium, we're increasing our body's own natural ability. Or if you're taking shots, you're making those shots more effective. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Have you thought about GLP-1? Have you heard about Ozempic, hormones? What are your thoughts on it? I want to stay super respectful in the comments, because this can be one of those really heated topics. It is a GLP-1 hormone, the peptide in your body is a game changer for how your body works, and setting up those foundational pieces. Another one, that foods that are so good at helping to kick in your body's own natural production: carrots, broccoli, pears. I sent out an email about pears. Pears are this untouched superfood that we don't really talk about, because it's just this common, regular old pear sitting there. It is brain food, and it is one of those foods that helps you and your body create and activate and access your own natural GLP-1 because of the benefits in that pear. That soluble fiber. Anytime we're getting soluble fiber in, we're helping our gut motility. Now, one of the downsides of adding a GLP-1 through medications is that it slows down your gut. And that's why if you're on a GLP-1, it's so important to keep your magnesium levels up, because when we're at cell saturation, we have better gut mobility. And taking a medication for that really, really slows it down for people. They actually, I'd love to see the studies on that, because there's been, and this is where health can be so confusing, because I've seen so much research done that at 400 degrees that you are losing some of those 36 polyphenols, and I want it full and robust. So I'd love to know, like, your resource and what they're tapping into and what they're looking, what research they're looking at on that. I am really protective of my olive oil, and so I do cook with it. I always make sure that I get it unheated, but I'd love to know, your research and where they're getting their data on that, because everything that I've looked at says the opposite. And that's where I think it's so important, because we can get stuck in not moving forward. Like, oh, this study says this and this study says this. Getting olive oil in is beneficial, and it makes such a difference in our gut motility, in our brain health. in nutritional feedback for our gut, getting it to our cells, increasing the cellular wall structure. A good olive oil that's high in polyphenols is really good at helping to build that cell membrane. People who really took a lot of DHA supplementation, like high amounts, it's showing now that that actually decreased their cellular wall function. And so I love going to foods and eating and getting that nutrition from real food because it's less processed and we don't have that downside of worrying about doing, overtaking it and then causing a side effect that we're not aware of. So I'd love reach out by email, the person that you're learning that from, because I'd love to look at that and learn. And maybe it's newer research and I want to learn from that. So thank you so much for that feedback. Taking baby steps, adding those things that we know are beneficial to our health is what helps us create optimal health. Activating our guts, making sure that our guts are in a place of health is everything. Oh, you put it in your Creo brew. Yeah. Beth, I love that. Adding it to your Creo brew, if it's drinkable, because obviously you're not going to be drinking it so hot that it's burning your mouth, is a great way to get it in. In fact, I used to do that and I walked away from doing that. So that's a great reminder to add that in. Can you take a teaspoon a day of olive oil for omega-3s? So olive oil isn't where I go to get my omega-3s. To get high omega-3s, I go to other food sources on that. Sherry. Yeah. I love doing salmon and cod liver oil are my two places where I go to get that high omega-3. And for example, I do chia seeds. They're a good fit for me. I know some people are saying, oh, they're awful for you. I've gone with them and without them, and I feel better with them. And the chia seeds have, quote, omegas, but it's so hard to convert that omega to usable omegas in your body. So even though I'm getting chia seeds in, it's not my source. I'm not looking at that to go, ooh, that's such a great source of omegas, because it's hard to convert that specific type of omega. And so for omega-3 fatty acids, I'm doing cod liver oil and wild caught salmon are my two favorite ways that I've really been able to boost that up. So love being with you today. I'd love to know, what are your thoughts? Are you adding any of these foods? Avocados, carrots, pears, broccoli, all rich and soluble fiber, all increasing your body's own GLP1 peptide that helps tap you into your insulin and satiety and feeling full after a meal and being able to have a metabolism that takes care of your body. Magnesium plays such a role in that process, soaking in magnesium. So things that you and I have been talking about, a lot of people have been with me from the beginning. We've been talking about that for 25 years. When I first started soaking, I had no idea the role that the magnesium was playing in helping me tap into that GLP-1 hormone. Angie, your question is so good, and it plays a role. It does not stop it. And it would be unrealistic of me to say, oh, if you soak in magnesium, you'll never get that. Magnesium has been shown to reduce inflammation And anytime we reduce inflammation, we're walking away from those cells proliferating that we don't want to proliferate. It's not an end all to that, though. I hope that helped create balance. It would be so disrespectful to someone who's on that journey saying, oh, yeah, soak in magnesium and that's going to go away. That's absolutely unrealistic because it's such a deeper, more layered process once you're at that point of cells proliferating that we don't want to. Let me go quick over here. Oh, Beth, I love avocado toast and broccoli with salmon. Avocado toast is one of my favorites on a good sourdough bread with some fresh lemon zest and arugula and some olive oil drizzled over the top of it. Oh, I am a happy girl. I'm with you, Beth. I've got a couple different variations of avocado toast and a good burrata on top of it with some fresh peaches drizzled with some olive oil. Oh, that's really yummy too. Um, oh, you're so welcome for the reminder. Oh, a famous white-haired doctor who wears glasses. Oh, I'm not sure. I can't put a name to that off the top of my head. It would be so interesting though, because culturally, before they took food apart in a lab to give more feedback and that kind of thing, culturally they always protected the olive oil. So it'll be so interesting, and I'm going to go on a little rabbit hole and learn about that and see, am I being too uptight about my family heating up the olive oil, because I've been known to step in and go turn it down to protect all the goodness that comes from it. This olive oil is this year's crop, and it has the KB. I don't know if you can see that, the KB stamp of approval. That means it's met my standard, and so grateful to my husband for walking this field and finding this farm, this orchard, because the permaculture principles and the mission trees and pressing it on site are what take this from food to food being medicine. It's one of my favorite foods that I never, ever want to be without. How do you feel about gluten-free eating homemade sourdough? It depends. Now I'm a celiac, and so it's the gliadin. It's not the gluten. It's actually the gliadin in the gluten that my body responds to. And if you're gluten intolerant, absolutely, people don't have a hard time with it. If you're diagnosed with celiac disease, that villi are actually being flattened, I I personally would never. And I've seen too many people and the research. And please understand, I was so sick. They thought I had refractive sprue, and it's just not something that I personally would ever do. And I've seen a lot of celiacs that have said, oh, the sourdough that I'm eating, the parts per million is down to this. And then 3 years later, they're back into flare symptoms of their celiac, because it's the gliadin, not the gluten. The gliadin is in the gluten. And so I personally would never. Someone who's gluten intolerant that just is avoiding gluten and they feel better, absolutely. So I think it really depends on varying. I make a great out of gluten-free grains. I make a great sourdough bread. So you can still get a great sourdough bread. And if you're wanting that sourdough bread, but I think that's a very, very individual decision to make. If there has been a diagnosis of celiac, I like I would never. I would never. But again, somebody else might say, you know what? I've had this sourdough tested, the parts per million, my chances of getting contamination from this and flattening my villi are very small. And maybe for them, they're okay with that. For me, not going there, not touching that with a 10-foot pole. It was delightful being with you today on this magnesium moment on Wednesday. I'll be back on Monday where we talk magnesium, the basics, and I loved being with you and hanging out with you. And if you would like to be a part of the Good Life newsletter, where we do a masterclass once a month on Zoom, a little bit more personal than what the social media lives are, I'd love to have you join that. Shelly will throw that link up so that you can join me. We also have a 30-day challenge that's happening that you can join and be a part of. And we have a class coming up on Thursday, our last class for that. Don't worry if you didn't start at the beginning. The class is really set up to answer those questions. We've had some great questions come in, and so I'm just going to really dive down and fine tune it for the people that have been a part of that. If you'd like to join us, it's not too late. If you can't be there live on the call, you still receive that as a recording, and I'd love to have you be a part of that. We're getting rain in my little corner of the world. It's wonderful. I love rainy days. I hope your corner of the world has a little glimmer today that helps to balance your nervous system and helps you hold on to your magnesium as you and I focus on creating a magnesium-rich environment for our bodies. Bye-bye.